This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good day from New York. We're coming on the air to take you to the White House, where right now a joint statement is beginning. President Trump and the President of the European Commission, JEAN-CLAUDE Juncker, in the Rose Garden discussing a possible trade deal. Let's listen.
John, you're here someplace. Hi, John. Thank you. Senator Mike Crapo. Thank you, Mike. Senator Steve Daines. Senator Hoven. Thank you. They're all here. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Cindy, thank you very much. Senator James Lankford. James. Thank you, James. Senator Pat Roberts. He loves those farms. He loves the farmers like I do. Representative Diane Black. Diane, thank you. Representative Kevin Brady with our new tax bill. How's it coming, Kevin? Good? Representative Mike Conaway. Mike? Thank you, Mike. Representative Dan Newhouse. Thank you, Dan. Representative Kristi Noem. I have to call her governor now. That was a great win. Thank you, Kristi. Representative David Reichert. David, thank you. So we had a big day, very big. We met right here at the White House to launch a new phase in the relationship between the United States and the European Union, a phase of close friendship, of strong trade relations in which both of us will win, of working better together for global security and prosperity, and of fighting jointly against terrorism. The United States and the European Union together count for more than 830 million citizens and more than 50% of the global GDP. In other words, together we're more than 50% of trade. If we team up, we can make our planet a better, more secure, and more prosperous place. Already today, the United States and the European Union have a $1 trillion bilateral trade relationship, the largest economic relationship anywhere in the world. We want to further strengthen this trade relationship to the benefit of all American and European citizens. This is why we agreed today, first of all, to work together towards zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, and zero subsidies on non-auto industrial goods. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We will also work to reduce barriers and increase trade in services, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, medical products, as well as soybeans. Soybeans is a big deal. And the European Union is going to start almost immediately to buy a lot of soybeans. They're a tremendous market. Buy a lot of soybeans from our farmers in the Midwest primarily. So I thank you for that, Jean-Claude. This will open markets for farmers and workers, increase investment, and lead to greater prosperity in both the United States and the European Union. It will also make trade fairer and more reciprocal, my favorite word, reciprocal. Secondly, we agreed to a strengthening of our strategic cooperation with respect to energy. The European Union wants to import more liquefied natural gas, LNG, from the United States, and they're going to be a very, very big buyer. We're going to make it much easier for them, but they're going to be a massive buyer of LNG, so they'll be able to diversify their energy supply, which they want very much to do, and we have plenty of it. Thirdly, we agreed today to launch a close dialogue on standards in order to ease trade, reduce bureaucratic obstacles, and slash costs dramatically. Fourthly, we agreed to join forces to protect American and European companies from better and really better than ever. We've never done like we're doing, I can say, from the standpoint of the United States. We've never done this well, but we're going to do a lot better after we do this deal and other deals that we're currently working on. Likewise, the European Union is going to do better, stronger, bigger. We will therefore work closely together with like-minded partners to reform the WTO and to address unfair trading practices, including intellectual property theft, forced technology transfer, industrial subsidies, distortions created by state-owned enterprises, and overcapacity. We decided to set up immediately an executive working group of very intelligent people on both sides. They'll be our closest advisors, and they're going to carry out this joint agenda. In addition, it will identify short-term measures to facilitate commercial exchanges and assess existing tariff measures and what we can do about that to the betterment of both. While we are working on this, we will not go against the spirit of this agreement unless either party terminates the negotiation. So we're starting the negotiation right now, but we know very much where it's going. We also will resolve the steel and aluminum tariff issues, and we will resolve retaliatory tariffs. We have some tariffs that are retaliatory, and that will get resolved as part of what we're doing. And with that, Jean-Claude, please.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, when I was invited by the President to the White House, I had one intention. I had the intention to make a deal today, and we made a deal today. We have identified a number of areas on which to work together. Work towards zero tariffs on industrial goods. That was my main intention, to propose to come down to zero tariffs on industrial goods. We've decided to strengthen our cooperation on energy. The EU will build more terminals to import liquefied natural gas from the US. This is also a message for others. We agreed to establish a dialogue on standards. As far as agriculture is concerned, the European Union can import more soybeans from the US, and it will be done. And we also agreed to work together on the reform of the WTO. This, of course, is on the understanding that as long as we are negotiating, unless one party would stop the negotiations, we will hold off further tariffs and we reassess existing tariffs on steel and aluminium. This was a good, constructive meeting. Thank you, Donald.
Well, thank you very much, Jean-Claude. I just want to conclude by saying this was a very big day for free and fair trade. Very big day indeed. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
What about auto tariffs?
President declining questions, making that statement in the Rose Garden with the Commission, European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker there, discussing trade goals. The only specifics we heard that they would work together towards zero tariffs and zero subsidies, that the EU would start immediately importing more soybeans and perhaps natural gas. The rest seems to be left to a working group, nonetheless trying to get to break open the deadlock over some serious trade issues. Let's go to Hallie Jackson right now in the Rose Garden. Hallie, was my reading on all that correct?
Yeah, Lester, I think so, and I'm having a little trouble hearing just that introduction. But yes, this was a joint statement between EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and President Trump, obviously. And the gist of it is this. Number one, the soybeans factor. This has been a particularly hard-hit agricultural industry given these tit-for-tat tariffs that have triggered a trade war. So it sounds as though the EU will begin increasing imports from U.S. farmers on soybeans, which should give those farmers some relief. But mostly, this sounds like a negotiation to make sure to keep talking. And while those talks are happening, to try to back off on some of these retaliatory measures that we have seen really over the last several months. There are still a lot of questions here, Lester. Just how firm, just how real is this deal? EU member states would need to weigh in. In fact, the EU Commission spokesperson told one of our colleagues just recently that, meaning this afternoon, that nothing is done until it's done. And I'm paraphrasing here, but that there's no agreement until an agreement is finally finished. So there are some questions about that. And then there's the comment that the president made about wanting to come to a resolution on those steel and aluminum tariffs. Tariffs the president himself put in place. Does a resolution, Lester, mean that President Trump will roll those tariffs back? That is what we are working to find out more about. This was, just to give you a little background color, a very unexpected joint statement from these two leaders. Typically, we get some advance notice of this. Today's was a scramble. So clearly the president in the room felt like he wanted to come out and make this announcement to the media rather than simply in a room to a smaller group of people. And Juncker joined him for that. There were also senators in the audience, specifically Republican senators, many from harder hit states after this tit-for-tat tariff situation, that were applauding the president as he was making this announcement. The president calling it a big day, Lester. But again, there are some questions as to just how significant these talks to agree to talks will be. I just want to note one other thing, because the other big headline of the day has, of course, been this recently revealed recording between Donald Trump just a couple of months before the election and his former attorney, Michael Cohen. Repeatedly today, the president has been asked about this. Reporters have been shouting questions to the president, as we did here in the Rose Garden today. The president so far is refusing to engage in person on any of that, although he is talking about this on Twitter, questioning why an attorney would tape a client. The significance of this recording, Lester, really comes down to whether or not the president broke a campaign finance law. Experts that we've talked to say this single recording is simply not conclusive. One called it interesting, but not necessarily enough evidence for example, prosecutors. So more to come on that.
A lot of news coming out of there. Before I let you go, we
Sure.
understand now that this invitation to Vladimir Putin to come to the White House in the fall, that's not happening. What do we know?
Yeah, so this is a National Security Advisor, John Bolton, who announced to us just within the last couple hours or so that this invitation extended to Putin is going to be pushed off because, in Bolton's words, they wanted to wait until the Russia witch hunt, as he put it, was over, meaning they don't expect a visit from the Russian president until after the first of the year. The president, again, is not addressing questions about Putin. It is significant given that this invitation to Putin seemed to catch even the president's own director of national intelligence off guard when it was announced last week. You were at Aspen, Lester, at that security conference, and you remember that moment with Dan Coates and our own Andrea Mitchell. So now news today that Putin talk, the second one here in Washington potentially, is going to be pushed off.
Hallie Jackson in the Rose Garden. Thank you, Hallie. We will have full coverage throughout the day on MSNBC and on NBCNews.com. A complete wrap-up, of course, on NBC Nightly News. For now, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Have a good afternoon, everyone.